What if Ottawa could shave months off affordable housing timelines by borrowing a place straight from Bay Street and do it while reshaping the city core around an NHL-ready arena? Quick weather. Expect a high of -4 and a low of -15 degrees Celsius with snow. Ottawa is moving fast on two fronts: housing and how we move through the heart of the city. City staff have proposed an Affordable Housing Debenture Framework. Think of it as leveraging the city's strong credit rating to front short-term loans, so builders can actually break ground now, not next year. Ottawa Community Housing projects are facing 30 to 40% funding gaps, thanks to higher interest rates and construction costs, even with federal and provincial money in the mix. The city's answer also includes direct funding for 550 new affordable units via promissory notes, spreading costs over time so projects don't stall. At the same time, planners want to stop the planned expansion of Preston Street to make way for a reimagined LeBreton Flats, 4,500 homes, major commercial space, and an NHL-sized arena, stitched together by transit and active transportation. That's on the National Capital Commission's wavelength, too. The road expansion would be replaced by a pedestrian and cycling bridge to cut traffic bottlenecks and actually connect neighborhoods. After years of friction, the city says it wants a better working relationship with the NCC to accelerate housing on federal lands. If they pull it off, it's a blueprint for building more homes while doubling down on walkability and transit. Across the province, getting around has been rough. Since last month's snowstorm, there have been 4 separate cases of vehicles launching over highway guardrails. Speed and snowbanks are common threads. In Maddock, a collision between a transport truck and an ambulance sent 2 paramedics to hospital and closed the highway for nearly a day. A woman died after a crash at Highway 407 in Woodbine and Markham. Investigators are still piecing together what happened. In Brampton, 10 people had minor injuries in a multi-vehicle crash involving a transit bus. And in Toronto, 9 police officers are facing corruption charges tied to violence in the tow truck industry, including allegations of trafficking and even conspiracy to murder. One more reminder to slow down on icy roads, and that cleaning up the towing sector is an unfinished job. Transit in Toronto is its own saga this week. GO train service is still dealing with scheduling snags after a derailment and ongoing signal repairs. Expect delays into Thursday. On a brighter note, the Eglinton Crosstown LRT is finally set to open, 15 years after shovels hit the ground. Yes, a burst pipe flooded Mount Dennis Station recently, but the line is still on course. For businesses along Eglinton that weathered a long construction winter, the City of Toronto also wants $35 million to expand artificial intelligence in traffic management, tuning signals, optimizing corridors, and easing gridlock. If it delivers, that's time back for commuters, fewer idling engines, and a cleaner urban footprint. Let's zoom out to national trade and the stakes for Canada's economy in a volatile moment with Washington. Ottawa says a decision on whether to join a U.S.-led critical minerals trade bloc will be folded into the broader USMCA, also called CUSMA, review talks. The bloc, pitched by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, would set price floors and adjustable tariffs for critical minerals, with carrots like private financing foundations and emergency supply backstops. The American goal is straightforward: reduce reliance on China by knitting together trusted partners across the battery and clean tech supply chain. Canada's calculation is trickier. Officials don't want to carve off a sector-specific deal early and lose leverage heading into the full CUSMA review in 2026. That review is looming large. President Trump's team sees CUSMA as transitional and potentially ripe for rewrites. Formal positions head to Congress early this year, and Canadian and American officials are already talking. Experts say Canada may not be top of mind, but history reminds us that automotive, agriculture, and energy can get pulled into the crossfire quickly. Business leaders are already mobilizing. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce is leading a mission to Washington, focused on manufacturing and supply chains, with an emphasis on digital platforms, real-time data, and AI-enabled systems, plus the push for aligned regulations and data flows at the border to keep goods and information moving. At home, Canada's trade posture is drawing fire from Labour. Union leaders say they've been sidelined in CUSMA discussions, accusing Prime Minister Mark Carney's government of treating their involvement as box-checking rather than genuine consultation. They argue workers must be in the room as decisions land on jobs and wages. Meanwhile, the government plans to refocus foreign aid on countries that deliver economic benefits back to Canada, the so-called Trade and Development Nexus. That shift comes with a $2.7 billion cut to bring the aid budget back to pre-pandemic levels, despite earlier promises to maintain it, prompting criticism that Ottawa is following Washington's lead on overseas spending. There's also tension around Canada's Asia strategy. Taiwan's envoy, Harry Tseng, says a completed trade cooperation framework covering e-commerce, energy, and semiconductor resilience has been sitting ready for signature since April, and he worries Ottawa is delaying to avoid angering Beijing. Taiwan is Canada's sixth largest trading partner in Asia. After a call between President Trump and China's president, Trump publicly criticized Canada's diplomatic stance, another sign that Ottawa's balancing act between two economic heavyweights is under close scrutiny. Conservative voices see opportunity and risk. Former campaign manager Jenny Byrne argues the party should explicitly connect the U.S. trade war to its affordability message, while pitching trade diversification, rebuilding the military, resource development, and new pipelines to strengthen Canada's bargaining position. Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper is calling for unity across party lines in the face of what he calls an imperialist U.S. president and renewed separatist rumblings, and he's urging Canada to reduce its economic reliance on the U.S. to protect sovereignty. Conservative MP Jamil Javani says he's relaying personal support from President Trump to Canadians as he works to bolster bilateral trade ties. Prime Minister Carney counters that his government is in continuous dialogue with Washington and has extensive contacts across the administration. Translation: expect a lot more back-channeling before anything lands on paper. On the court, a heartbreaker for the Raptors. Toronto led by 18, but Minnesota stormed back to win 128-126 behind 30 points from Anthony Edwards, 21 of them after halftime. Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert made big plays down the stretch, and 9 fourth-quarter turnovers from the Raptors opened the door. Scotty Barnes was excellent again, with 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists, tying for 5th on the Raptors' all-time double-doubles list. Still, that's the third blown lead in 4 games, a tough pattern Nick Nurse would have circled in red. Now it's on Darko Rajakovic and the room to close games smarter and cleaner. Leafs fans, we'll catch up on the blue and white next episode. Before we go, 2 threads to watch: AI becoming the quiet backbone of both city streets and cross-border supply chains, and how Canada positions its critical minerals, from Sudbury to the Ring of Fire, as leverage in a choppy U.S. trade landscape. Those choices ripple from Ottawa council chambers to factory floors and right into your commute. I'm back tomorrow with the latest on housing, trade, and the teams you care about. Stay warm out there, and if you're driving, give yourself extra time on those slick roads.